So good afternoon, and great to have the chance to talk with you and see you, even though I can't hear from all of you. This is a very good day to be and time to be talking about project delivery, because in the UK, as in other countries, we've been living through probably one of the most demanding periods we've ever experienced as a government and as a country, and that's required extraordinary efforts from people to deliver projects. Just to give a few examples of that, we've had to put in place a shielding program for over 2 million people across the country. We've had to build from scratch ventilators that have been playing a vital role in intensive care units. We've had to put in place a test and trace system, again, something which we didn't have in place beforehand. And we're acting very fast to develop vaccines. Those are just four of the major projects we've had to put together to help our country deal with this crisis of COVID. And it does, I think, really underline the importance of project delivery in the work of government. Many of you will have been directly involved in those efforts, so please can I take this opportunity to thank you for your professionalism, for your dedication, for your flexibility. You are making a really, really important contribution. I also think that because of the extent of this pressure on our country and our government from the virus, and the huge efforts we've had to take to respond to it, it also means that it's a chance to look differently about what we can do and learn to act differently. And I think here particularly, I wanted to emphasize the importance of moving at pace. I've been told that during the crisis, the response of some of our public bodies has really, and I've seen it at first hand, has been extraordinary. And sometimes things which would have taken several months to do have been done in a matter of weeks. So that shows what can be done by projects at great pace. And we need to deliver a lot of projects at pace. When we look at the government major projects portfolio and the number of projects on it, of which there are 125, they represent 448 billion pounds worth of expenditure, which is really phenomenal. But as well as the cost and the size, those are very, very complex projects, which is why they're on that portfolio, and they require efforts over many, many years. I think the longest one stretches even into the decades, and they require very complex and demanding interactions between different government departments, between arm's length bodies, with private sector contractors and private sector partners, many of them from other countries as well. So that is a fantastically important and demanding coordination task. But also we know that projects which go on for a long period of time, the context changes, the demands on them change, even some of the personnel changes. So to be able to keep on track, to be able to make improvements as you go along, to be able to take feedback, requires moving much more towards the agile method of project delivery, where rather than kind of locked on for long periods of time, we learn to deliver in stages and to take quick feedback from what is happening to learn how to do that better. So I think the responsiveness and the openness to new ideas are really important at this time more than any other. The whole process of managing through the government major projects portfolio is something which has been a real feature of the UK over the last few years, and it has begun to deliver some benefits. I think one of the most important benefits has been that projects which have had this extra attention first of all, many have already been successfully delivered. I think we've had 17 of our biggest and most complex projects have been delivered over the last year, but also that ones which I think of the 105 current projects which have been on the GMPP for over a year, more than a quarter of them have improved their delivery confidence assessment. So that's very good, a very strong indicator that the extra attention is beginning to show some good results. But I also wanted to highlight that actually quite a number of the projects on the portfolio are actually rated as amber or amber red or even red. So there's a lot of work to do to be able to deliver on the mission that we know is absolutely vital, which is to deliver projects on time and to budget, so that they can be delivering all the benefits that we need for the citizens that we serve. So a major task, and above all, a task for people, and the investment that we've been making in the project delivery community and profession within government and with our partners in the private sector has been, significant and a really major undertaking over the last years, but we know we need to go much further. We've hugely increased the numbers of people who are trained up with the skills necessary. I think, in fact, since the establishment of the Major Projects Leadership Academy in 2012, over 700 leaders have attended that, which is our flagship program, and around 1,300 individuals have also enrolled in the project leadership program. So these are large numbers, but given the size of those programs that we described earlier, and those just being the most strategic ones, that is probably only a small slice of the overall number of people that we need to be training to deliver on these big programs. So I think there's going to be a continuing expansion of the programs to enhance the capabilities of people to manage projects at scale. And I want to congratulate, but also encourage the IPA to take that on to its next stage. I also think that when we look ahead for some of these programs, we have to look into a future which we know will be different. We don't know how it will be different. And that's one of the challenges, I think, for people working in the project delivery profession, is that the original commission which created the need for the project, you have to deliver the project with your eyes very open to the changing context around you. Before taking up this role in the Cabinet Office, I was in the Department for Business and Energy Industrial Strategy. And there, we were instrumental in pushing for the adoption of the net zero ambition in government, which has been not only adopted by the UK government, but also in the UK Parliament. So we now have this very, very important and significant ambition to deliver net zero carbon emissions by 2050. So nearly all of these programs, which are multi-year programs, putting in place infrastructure which will be in place for decades. Net zero is now a very important kind of shaping requirement to be factored into the design and delivery of those projects. I think we're also very conscious at this time that with all the economic impacts of the response to COVID, that we need to look also at what we can do to make the best use of the talent coming out of schools and universities and colleges, to take on board apprenticeships, to try and embed skills that are required and built up in projects and make them available for other projects. And that whole human agenda, human skills agenda is very important. I also finally wanted just to highlight that the IPA has been doing very good work over a number of years in applying gateway reviews and checks and balances and assurance to try and make sure that the programs that are funded are delivered successfly and to budget and meet the necessary key performance indicators and milestones. But I think that under Nick Smallwood's inspirational leadership, they have rightly adopted a new approach now as well of trying to get alongside people who are trying to deliver programs with a kind of get to green type program to say, well, look, it's not just enough to say, look, we're going to say that you're currently rated as a red or an amber, but what would it take between us to be able to get you to green? And I think that's sort of very much kind of sleeves rolled up, solving problems and enhancing the capability of individual projects is a very enlightened and good way of trying to actually get the overall project portfolio delivering on time, which is the objective that we all share. So finally, I just wanted to emphasize that the successful delivery of projects is one of the foremost priorities that the Prime Minister has set for all of us. And he has been speaking publicly on that issue, and has said that it's a requirement for government to be able to in his words, build to deliver the infrastructure that we need as a nation and that the time is now to do that. And I wanted to thank you again for your efforts over the last few months in particular, but also to encourage you to think that this is a great time to be working in project delivery, and that the future is brighter than ever. Thank you very much.